All right, all right, all right. Looky here, loyal listeners. Look what I got. We have Mary Boyd, who is here for the CEO of Plymouth Rock Assurance. And I have to tell you, this is going to be a good one. Why? Because it's one of those that Mary and I had just maybe one or two things we were going to talk about. And I told her, I said, because I have your time, Mary, we have to talk about so much more. And she said, okay, Jason, we'll go ahead and try this. So, loyal listeners, you are in for a treat. As you know, Mary and I have never spoke before this. We just going to give you real conversation right to your ears. And this is Agents Influence Conversations with me, Jason Cass, and today, Mary Boyd. Mary, are you ready for this?
Absolutely.
I've got three questions that we start out with always.
Oh,
What is,
great.
here it is. I'm pretty sure you can get them. Are you an iPhone or are you a Droid user?
I'm an iPhone user.
All right, there it is. We noticed, Mary, on this from asking. I've done over 600 of these podcasts, and from
Hmm.
asking these, it's always funny. The C suites,
Uh-huh.
the executives always have the iPhones, and the developers and the tech people always have the droids. And so you fall in line, right in line with it. So, congrats, I guess. I guess you should be excited about that. I don't know. I just thought I'd tell you.
That's right. Or I've just snuggled up to the host apparently.
Hey, Mary, what's the last app you downloaded?
um my Ring app. I just installed a Ring doorbell not
Ooh,
too long ago.
yeah,
That
the
might be
old
the last
ring.
app I downloaded, yeah.
It might be. See, it's always something techie.
Hmm.
Then again, what else are you supposed to do with an app? But yeah, I love the ring. Do you just have just the ring doorbell, or do you have surveillance all across your house?
I have the Ring doorbell. I do have Nest as my other type of
Yep,
technology in the
that's what
house.
I got. That's what I got too. I'm
And
same.
all of my washer, dryer, ovens, they're very communicative with me at this point. They send me text messages and let me know when they're ready, when they're almost ready, and when they're done.
It's wild, isn't it, Mary?
It is fabulous.
I mean, come on. And not only is it fabulous and wild, but just as little as 6 to 8 to 9 years ago, we would have been like, why would you need that to communicate with you? I mean, things are going fast, real fast.
They
Real.
are.
It's a good thing though. It's a good thing. Change is good. I said this the other day. Uh, Change is okay, but staying where we are is not. So like I want people to understand that like change. I understand it's okay to be scared of change, but staying where we are is just not an option. It's just not. I mean, we can't even if we wanted to, we can't, right, Mary? I mean,
It's physically impossible to stay where we're at, first
that's
of
what I'm
all.
talking about.
Biologically, we cannot avoid change. We
Right.
can continue to learn, we can continue to build strength, we can continue to experience new things. And by doing any of those things, we've automatically changed or learned it or evolved, regardless of whether it was our intention or not. So I couldn't agree with you more.
I agree. Thank you very much for that. Now, next question, which is one I usually like, or do you love to win or do you hate to lose?
Ooh, that's a good question,
Yeah, I
Jason.
told you they're good.
That's a good. So I hate to lose
Oh,
more than I
okay.
love to win, but I really love to win. And most people don't know that I hate to lose more than I love to win because I hate losing so much.
Well,
But
then
you
you
just don't
know.
do it often, and then no one needs to know.
I love it. You don't do it often, and then no one needs to know. I like that, Mary. That's good. I like that. All right, last question, I promise, is we believe here that there's two things that got you to where you are today, luck or skill. Which one do you feel was been a bigger factor in your life to get you to where you are today, Mary?
If determination is a skill and a high tolerance for pain is luck, then maybe both. It's hard to determine which one I have more of, but those are the two things I would
Okay.
credit with moving me to where I am today.
And those both kind of relate to both, so that makes sense. Mary, you talked about where you are today. Let's take you back to high school, diapers, wherever you want to start, college, and in about 2 to 3 minutes, tell us how you got to where you're sitting in that seat today.
Interesting story.
Come
So
on, I
if
love them.
if if you went back to my there's I found the other day my mom's found a high school. Actually, I'll say it this way. My mom was cleaning out her closets and found a scrapbook that had an article from the Star Ledger in New Jersey from 1990. when I was a senior in high school, and they were interviewing myself and a gentleman named John Bellavia because we were the scholar athletes for our school. So we had the highest GPAs and the most number of varsity letters, that kind of thing.
Gotcha.
And so that was my goal when I got to high school. I wanted to be the scholar athlete because I thought that was a great balance of both aspects of my world.
Sounds good.
And at that point, I had recently had to think about career development, and I ended up identifying actuary as one of the careers that might combine my love of math and solving problems in a business environment. And so I thought I might be an actuary. And and so, and also in the study of that, the little book I was reading at the time said that it was, these are people that had the best chance of often going on to help lead companies. And I thought, well, that sounds like something I'm interested in doing someday. And not sure if I could, but I'd be interested in it. And so I had that on my mind. And so in this article, which I did not recall until I read it recently, they said, well, what do you see as your goal? And I said, well, I talked about the fact that I was thinking about becoming an actuary and working in insurance. And I thought to myself, how crazy. That's one of the reasons why I even started down the track of working in insurance. And my career has evolved over the course of time by virtue of being willing to take on new challenging assignments, do the thing that other people didn't want to do. And from a leadership perspective, I've always been strongly rooted in team and leadership. And so when there's an opportunity or a need to help lead, I find myself naturally in those roles.
Great.
And so that has one thing led to another. So my analytical background has certainly propelled me into a lot of different opportunities, but my career has spanned responsibilities for marketing, underwriting, operations. And I built the predictive analytics solution that's patented by Chubb in my high net worth days. But that project alone was something that allowed me to learn how to run and develop an organization. So I believe everything we do gives us a chance to get to the next thing.
Yeah,
That's
and as a CEO, you're bringing a lot to the table. So did you actually start out in actuary?
I began my insurance career as an actuarial trainee. Technically, I started my working career. I was an intern for Nabisco as a sales and forecasting analyst, and I was working there first as an intern into the beginning of my career. But then I got called by Chubb for an actuarial trainee position, and I took that.
I mean, Mary, let's be honest, you're a straight geek. I mean, you are a math nerd and you know what? So be it. Look where you are today. I mean, leading a great company, Plymouth Rock, and it only goes into some of the things that I've looked into about some of the telematics and the other things that you guys have done there. But now, as you've gotten to where you are at Plymouth Rock, and you took over in 2018, I believe, is what I can't remember the gentleman's first name, but Ollie, was that his last name? Chris Ollie?
Ole. Chris Ole.
Chris Ollie,
Yes.
that was his name, yes. And so you took over from him. Now, when you took over from him, I mean, was there anything that you've kind of done differently with the company? Was there anything you wanted to kind of turn it and move it a different direction?
So I would say when I took over for Chris, one of the things that was different from the time period that he was here, and he did a wonderful job with the company. He introduced some brand new programs and built some of our sports affinity partnerships that we've leaned into very hard to help promote our brand, to connect our brand with Plymouth Rock with some of the top sports brands in the country or even the world, whether it's the New England Patriots or the New York Yankees. We are the Boston Red Sox exclusive sponsor for insurance at this point. We have the Boston Bruins, and we also have the Jersey Devils. And of course, in Pennsylvania, we've got Penn State. So it's right in the middle of the state, and everyone knows Penn State, whether you're in Penn State or in Pennsylvania or Jersey or anywhere else.
Or
So
anywhere.
we've,
That's right.
yeah, we've found that those partnerships do a great job of engaging our agents, offering exclusive and unique opportunities for customers to get benefits related to those partnerships. And they also give us a chance to elevate our brand and awareness in a way that advertise that they know they can get it from an independent agent. I think it's one of the ways we're investing in the channel. One of the things that's different about, so that's continued, that Chris started that, we're building on that and continuing to take it. That is one of the big things that changed when Chris was retiring and I was taking over, is that Chris had led in our prior structure a very New England based structure that could have any channel, whether it was direct or agency, etc. But not long before I joined, the company decided to organize by distribution channel, and so therefore we do have a direct to consumer business that's based in New Jersey, but my role was expanded to the 6 states that we write in, and that includes the new states we entered in 2019 of New York, and we had just entered 2018 and Pennsylvania in 2017. So my role and what we're doing is really looking at ways to help build on the strength of Plymouth Rock and the strength of our team, the scale that brings, the operational ideas and innovation that brings, by uniting our team. So my focus when I got here was, one, to build and maximize build upon and maximize the tools and the processes and support that we already had for our business, but also to connect our team so we can get the most out of that. And that has actually been really a powerful thing, not unexpectedly, because there were these great ideas that may have resided and been in market even in our New Jersey office, and we got to share them across 6 states in New England, or something that was in New England that got to share in our New Jersey office. And since we've entered New York, we have done the same thing. There's some different things that are unique to settling claims incredibly well in New York that our team in New York knows, and we can share those lessons. And the idea here is to utilize the power of a regional company. Regional companies have, from my view, as a competitor of regional companies in my prior lives, regional companies can take the scale that they have and drive it deep into their local market in a way that allows them to outperform national or global carriers because of the unique insights they can gain from their agents, from their vendor provider networks, from just knowing it. And so that is the reason that they do so well in the places that they are, right? Every high net worth company has an Ohio strategy, but but the Ohio companies really often win. So we did that, but what I got the benefit of is taking the power of really the New Jersey region, the New England region, and then what would have been a New York region if we had still that regional mindset, and really take that deep knowledge that would have been for the local markets and really multiply it by bringing that together across our footprint. So that was a big thing.
And states can be so different, right? I think that goes back to your regional thing, is that if you're in one state, pretty much it may look the same. You're bringing from the same, like, let's say, pot. But if you have, what the needs are in New York versus Pennsylvania, or Vermont versus Pennsylvania, are so different. But those diversities can really strengthen the fabric. I get that.
That's right.
Now, I mean, you being in your analytical mind and your actuary experience, and that's what you were thinking. We talked about, and I looked up that you were the road rewards, and this is a telematics app. Are you using this? Tell me about it, and I want to know, how are you using it? Are you using it for underwriting and other things like that?
Sure. So our Road Rewards is our version of a telematics app, and it does respond to the increasing interest customers have in having a usage-based insurance or telematics app. But this is a special and slightly different take on it, in that it isn't an immediate price discount at the point of sale where other companies although it's evolving, may have just given someone 5% or 10% off or something like that for a period of time for a customer to plug in a dongle or download the app and use that. Those engagements with the customer, they have a high take-up rate, but then not a very high persistency of engagement usually.
Okay.
Now, to the credit of the industry, that's continuing to evolve for some of our competitors. However, with our Road Rewards app, what it does is it doesn't cost you anything. It doesn't penalize in any way at all. It isn't used for underwriting. It's actually used, we do evaluate in the same, with using the same kind of technology that exists in any of the other standard programs through your mobile phone. However, when you're driving and you get your score, you earn points. And with those points, you can redeem them for gift cards, Amazon, Starbucks, fuel, movies, spa, you name it, right? Of course, not surprisingly, Amazon was the highest redeemed gift card during the pandemic, still so, and Starbucks as well. So we definitely have found that those are popular, and people they can have an app, they can track how they're doing, they can track their points, and then they can redeem those points for rewards that translate into real dollars. So instead of getting a price discount that you forget about right after once you've issued the policy or gotten your policy, this is something that pays rewards and dividends throughout the driving experience, throughout the, for the entire time you're with Plymouth Rock. And one of the things that I find is really beneficial about this, actually a couple of things. One, in the independent agency distribution channel, telematics is still a relatively new feature, right? And it's something that hasn't had a lot of take up compared to a direct-to-consumer business, right? In direct-to-consumer, you can see this 30, 50, 70% of the time, someone might say yes to taking a telematics kind of credit and option. That's in the single digits for the most part in an independent agency channel. And the reason for that is the concern we all know, right? The concern of this feeling of bait and switch, which it isn't, right? And so in this particular case, this is a all carrot, no stick kind of situation. And so there isn't anything other than a benefit to the customer, but there's also a benefit to the agent, because when we have customers that utilize this program and they get rewards, when you're engaging with it, you're looking at how am I driving? How can I drive better? And it sort of gamifies it. So therefore, people try to drive better and they earn more points, and then loss ratios improve. And so we certainly see that that's the case. And so the combination of loss ratio improvement and retention helps the insurance company, Plymouth Rock, but it also helps that agency, particularly as they're growing a profitable book that is more sticky and less work for them. So that's the nature of our program.
And that would be interesting. I'm thinking of some of my carriers that actually do similar things. And I'm actually curious is that I should call them and say, what is my loss ratio with those who have that app versus those who don't? Because I think the penetration rate, Mary, when you see it with the independent agents is, it's the belief is probably more coming from the agency owner or the agent who's selling it than it is the consumer. It's the trust that, oh yeah, they're only collecting this data for a while, but they'll end up using it later, and then they'll raise my rate and I'll have to move the client. I think that more of the trust factor, I think as you said, outside of the independent agent system, didn't you say there's more of a penetration adaption rate?
Yes.
And I see that's why I think I don't think it's the consumer, because that's proven right there. I think it's the tendency of the agent not to do it. Now think about this, Mary. Like, I understand not everything should be used like this way, but think about it. Like, depending on how much I use my gym that I work out in, they charge me more, right? If I go and I want to eat a lot of food, I get charged more for eating the food. I mean, it's really ridiculous when you think about the fact that we're having anybody pushing back on telematics system. And I am a terrible driver. I'm an absolute terrible driver. And what I mean by that is, knock on wood, no claims, accidents, but I like to really go fast in my Infiniti. I really truly do. So someone like me may be scared of that, but I think overall, the vast majority of people drive pretty damn good. I mean, 60, 70, I'm going to say 80% of them drive really good. I know it because I'm always honking at them, telling them to get the hell over so that I can get by. Just joking. But it just seems weird that when all of a sudden we come out with this telematic way, the usage base, that people would get freaked out in that. It just is really kind of crazy. Don't you find that weird?
Well, everyone that you're the first person I've ever met that admitted that they're not a good driver, because pretty much everyone else I know believes they're a great driver, really great driver,
I
no
am a
matter
great
what.
driver. I just break the rules a lot, and I know this. You know,
the
I mean,
rules don't the rules don't fit your driving style. Yeah. So
exactly. That's what I'm talking about.
there
Exactly.
there's you're right there, so there is certainly a fear factor around, well, if you're watching me, you're not going to use this information for good, right, or for good
Hmm.
purposes. It's interesting, though, to your point, right, in other aspects of our lives, the the on our phones, Google Maps, right? That's probably, or Waze, one of the most used apps that exists. How do
Hmm.
people think that the information and the guidance is given to them? Like, it's
Good,
because
Mary.
it's watching how much where they are at. It's keeping track of how fast they're going. It's all that information's in there. It's the same technology. We're just looking to use it to help. And if you're driving better, you're going to pay less than the average, or pay less than what your current amount is. And so that's a good thing. If you're driving
Right.
worse, well, that's sort of what it would be. Eventually, someone's going to figure that out when you run into things, or somebody
Hmm.
catches you driving too fast and you get some tickets. So those are, I think you're absolutely on point there. Although I bet you can find a gym where you don't need to pay more if you use it more. That feels like a just like some like
Well,
the
it
wrong
has
message
like
they're sending you.
it has like tanning beds in it, or you can use
Oh,
it
okay.
all. You know what I mean? Like the more you
Features.
use it, yeah. Like if
Okay,
I go there
features.
every day versus once a week, yeah, they don't charge me more for
Okay,
that.
that's good.
But
I
in
was
a way,
gonna.
that would be good, right? Rather than charge me $30 a month, if you only go once a week, charge me $10, and you're still going to keep my money because it's less. I don't know, but anyways, it has to do. I mean, I
Yeah.
really, really do think it's just it blows my mind. And when you're talking about the Google Maps and stuff, it's like the people that walk around and are like, I don't really want, Uncle Sam watching me. And it's like, dude, you have a cell phone in your hand that tells them
Yes,
everything if they wanted to know. And
that's right.
majority of the times it'll say, would you like to share your data? And most people are just clicking yes, 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 just to
Yes.
get the app downloaded. But
Oh,
yeah,
sure.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's so funny how we compartmentalize in our mind where it's okay here, but not okay over here. And I think time breaks that down, right? When you say, I mean,
It.
it's very similar also, Mary, to the credit scoring.
Yes.
Earlier in life, that credit scoring was everybody was, oh my gosh. And after a
Yes.
while, us agents, it got to the point where we would sell it as, listen, if you have decent to good credit, there's nothing for you
Yeah.
to be worried about here. This is actually going to help your rate. And I
Yes.
think now the consumer kind of knows that. They all still don't agree with it, but it
Yeah.
actually benefits them.
It you
So,
know it has, because any information that can help more accurately predict whether somebody's going to have a loss, or they're going to have a larger or smaller costing loss, to correct, it will certainly help predict the price. And then it does, to your point, credit's a great example of one that overall, there's, of course, overall it's helped pricing in the market.
hmm,
It hasn't done that universally, and there are certainly pockets where it can be improved, and so
yeah,
that's really important.
I agree.
However, it is something that has overall allowed us to reduce from having an average rate that would have to sit up much higher to something that would be more of a, let's say, a curve like that,
Hmm.
so that most people can, in the middle, can actually get better pricing than they would have otherwise. And so you're right, telematics would be way more powerful than credit, because it's not just using a surrogate for what your driving behavior is, it's your driving behavior. And your driving behavior certainly has to do with whether or not you're going to create an accident by driving unsafely, or get in an accident because of driving
Hmm.
unsafely, or because someone around you is driving unsafely. And so we're certainly um, looking forward to a time where we can get that information, as part of our, everyone as part of pricing, or better to
Hmm.
understand it. But I also know that that's going to take some time. And
Yeah.
so it's not something that companies, uh, are going to take lightly. We want to be very careful. It's so much data that that to really use it properly it's just going to take some time.
Yeah, and to me, it even makes more sense than credit. I've always been for credit. Okay, I really have because I can see it. Like,
Yeah.
it just overall, you're more likely to be neglectful or irresponsible if you're irresponsible in other parts of your life. Just to put it
Mm-hmm.
simple, right? The one thing I have to say though is there is this company. They're blue and they're pretty big. They're the second largest, and they, I think, abuse it. Okay, and I'm not pointing at them. I'm pointing at other people like them in the industry. I believe that when credit came along, it was more on the lines of how likely are you to have a claim, right, or to
Mm-hmm.
be
Mm-hmm.
higher risk.
Sure.
But I think after a while, some of these carriers, not a lot, and I have to give kudos to a lot of the carriers, they have now come in. How likely are you to turn in a claim?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's different than how likely are you to have a claim. Because knowing someone's credit history, knowing their financial strength, lets you also know how likely they are to turn in a claim. And I think when we're using credit to know how likely we are to turn in a claim versus how likely we are to cause a claim or have a claim, I think that's when we start to get into some ethical issues. Once again, you can eliminate that when you start using how good of a driver are you? Simple as that. If you're my wife and she gets rewards from her app that she has, she loves it. Me, I
Yeah.
mean, every time I'm driving, she always has to tell her app, no, that's not me driving. That's not me driving. That's him driving, so it doesn't ruin her score. But I
Yeah.
think it just makes sense, and kudos to you. Why don't you think more of your other competitors have come along this line and adapted telematics, Mary?
I think it's just, I think it's going to come. I
You
can't
think it's
speak
going to
for all
come?
the, yeah, I can't speak for how the other companies have not adopted it yet. In some cases, if it, depending, if they're direct to consumer companies, because of the adoption rate, the, investment in the technology and in the
Ah,
programs, right? Because it isn't easy just to say, oh, you're just going to have a telematics app. There's product management, there's technology, there's all the kinds of things you need to do,
implementation of it. Yeah, that makes
implementation, et
sense.
cetera,
That
explanation.
makes sense.
It's it's an investment to do that. From an independent agency channel carrier perspective, making that investment amidst comparisons with other things you can invest in to help build your business for the company and together with your agents, this probably didn't hit the top ranking investment for many companies,
That
but it will
makes
happen.
sense.
And the timing of that will tell
Mary,
how
that
fast
makes
it goes.
sense. That makes sense. Like as a direct to consumer, it is higher on the list because you do see more of an adoption rate. But if you're getting a 6 to 8% adoption rate from the independent, that's not going to be something that I hope loyal listeners you took note of that because that is very, very important. And all of us loyal listeners out there, we need to realize that this is something that we need to embrace. We need to get over all of this, oh, Big Brother's watching us, as she said. Google Maps. How do you think it knows how fast you're going and stuff like that? And it would be illegal probably, I don't know, for Google or anybody to sell that type of information because that's users data and it's very protected. But in this instance, when it comes to insurance, loyal listeners, I think this is something that we should probably be getting behind so that we can then help our clients actually see stuff. Because I will admit, I think there's way more better drivers than there are bad drivers. I really do. I would say that there's probably more people who have bad credit than have good credit, to be honest with you. I really do. Now, I know it's based on a curve, like, you said, and you got that one part, so everybody's kind of getting it. But overall, a majority of the people that I drive past in the world, they're going the speed limit or they're doing that 5 or 7 miles over, they're very careful because they have their kids in the car. I just think it works more to an advantage of the customer than it does a disadvantage. I really, truly do.
I think that those are all great points. To the one of the main points I heard you make there in terms of whether the independent agency owners or the channel can get more comfortable with telematics. I do think that that is evolving, and I can
Mm-hmm.
hear that from the partners that I get the chance to work with, in that because the consumer adoption is increasing and because during the COVID pandemic, so many people weren't driving as much and they became much more aware of the
Mm.
value of a usage-based model,
Ah.
that there is more interest, at least inquiries to our agency partners about telematics solutions. And so therefore, I have seen more carriers make the investment and push their investment as a result, because they've invested all this money into it to really sort of pressure and move the needle a bit, if you will, towards adoption in the independent agency channel. And like you said, I think that that is a good thing.
Yeah.
For not everyone has to do it. I think there are many drivers that are good drivers that are getting a very competitive price for their coverage they're getting today. And so they may be completely satisfied with what they have versus having a telematics app and thinking about something different and a fear of change, et cetera. But it is going to be better for everyone. I think once, if you really are a good driver, it will certainly benefit you in the long run.
Well, and these are conversations I'm having with my insureds about being a remote workers, and
Mhm.
you're bringing something up great that person has been driving 5 days a week to work for 20 miles, and now all of a sudden they're only going in 2 times a week. That
Mhm.
person is having that conversation in their head, like, wow, I can't believe, why am I paying as much as I did for insurance that I did before? And it
Sure.
only takes someone to call them on the phone with all those pesky telemarketers that we get, that someone that says, hey, did you know that we give you insurance based on how you drive and how far you drive? It's only going to take, those people are having those conversations right now. And so, loyal listeners, I think that that's a great way for you to make an inroad into talking about telematics, is by asking that question. Are you driving as much as you were before? They're calling it the great resignation right now. I mean,
Yeah.
people are absolutely changing their tune, and a lot of them are staying at home. And so I think that that's a great. Now you can just
So
click that little pleasure use, but why not just say pleasure this and that? Why don't we say what is your use? And I think that
yes.
that's way more of an important question. In your actuary mind, May, I'm sorry, Mary. May is my assistant. I apologize,
It's
Mary.
okay.
I can see where that comes from. So yeah, that's good.
So, so I realized through this conversation, it took me so long to shake my actuary background that I just leaned right into it again, and that's going to be associated forever.
Okay.
Um, so no, but I appreciate that. Actually, so one of the things that you reminded me of, Jason, I think this gets back to your question about some of the things that I've reinforced maybe a little bit differently in my time here at Plymouth Rock versus the focus on this before, is one of the things that I recognize with Plymouth Rock is all the things that the company has been really great at have been connected by a common theme. And that is, in those cases, whether it was a product or product feature or a service and claims or customer service, where they got as close to the customer as possible, like really met the customer where they're at. And
Mm-hmm.
so whether it was back in the 80s when the concept of a crash buster went out for Plymouth Rock, before Progressive actually went out to the site of a claim to help make sure they can help our insureds right away, or door-to-door valet service, or some of the things that we do now in terms of meeting our fans, building our retention with fanatic avid sports fans. All of these things are thinking about where is our customer, how can we do things that really connect. We can do them simply and do them really well, and that will be a winning proposition. And so telematics is no different for us. And so whether it's our customer or our agents, really thinking about where are we right now and how can we deliver the most value when we by meeting them where they are. And so the Road Rewards telematics app is an example of that, from the concept that we're having here in terms of how do we help agents and their customers get comfortable with telematics, and how do we help get the benefit of telematics solutions in their hands, and also help agents be competitive against maybe a direct to consumer offering, because they have a telematics offering in their agency through one like Plymouth Rock that they can offer that are really there's no risk. It's only reward. And
Mm-hmm.
so therefore we know that we're going to help improve the safety of the roads, improve the safety of our drivers, improve the profitability. The other thing that along those lines is we've just introduced work from home discount specifically
Ah.
in New Jersey and Pennsylvania, and we're going to expand that to our other states, to the point that you said, which is like, this is where our customers are. They're working at home. And
Love
so
it.
we thought, wouldn't it be great if we could at least make sure we don't have to do, they're going to use the telematics app for rewards, but they're
Rewards, yeah.
also going to, if they're working from home 3 or more days a week, we're going to, each driver that's doing that, we're going to give a discount, up to a 10% discount on the premium, which is certainly competitive with any other insurance carriers, telematics dependent pricing. So,
Mary, this has been fantastic. I think we've gotten across. For me reaching out to you, I think I got what I needed out of this. Your brilliance has been shining. Everybody, if you see the light on me, it's not from my light up here. It's Mary and her intelligence. So, Mary, we do appreciate it very much. I got a couple questions to wrap up that get a little more personal. Is there
great.
anything you want to say? Anything last minute you want to say?
No, it's fine. Well,
Okay.
I will. No, I'm fine. Thank you very
Okay.
much.
All right. Well, if you do, you can jump in here. Leaders are readers, and readers are leaders. And I know you're a leader, so you must be a reader. What are you reading right now?
Oh, actually, right now I'm reading one of Brian Falchuk's books on.
Okay.
Yeah. So
You are reading his book.
Yeah, I am.
Okay.
So I'm a fan and a friend of Brian's, and I think his thought leadership and his is wonderful. And so although I'm lucky enough to get to spend time with him and we do our brainstorming and geeking out on insurance thing, to get a chance to support him and read his books and buy them
Next
is
time you
my
see
pleasure.
Brian, say Jason said hi. Brian and I are also very good friends. See, we actually know each other. We just don't even know each other, but now we know each other.
That's
So
right.
so now I'm cool. I'm gonna tell people Mary Boyd knows me. I mean, I know Mary Boyd. Yeah, that's right. That's the way that it is.
Both ways.
Yeah, both ways. No, but that is it for what I have for you. So I really do appreciate you coming on and thank you for telling us about Plymouth Rock. I know of Plymouth Rock only from, like you said, you wrote right in 6 states, but I know I have a lot of friends who speak very highly of you. And it's always funny when we hear Plymouth Rock because the rest of America, we don't know it, right? And it's
Yeah.
like, we're like, Plymouth Rock, but actually, if you go to the Northeast, you'll hear the name all the time as you guys are the staple. So
Yeah.
appreciate you
Well,
coming on.
I appreciate it too. I will offer to that same end, if you were to combine our auto businesses that we have here at Plymouth Rock, we are the 9th biggest carrier in our states, and we're the 23rd largest carrier in the country.
Well, son
And
of a
it's
gun, thank you for adding that, Mary. I did not
no
know that.
problem, no
Yeah.
problem. And it really just comes from really becoming more deeply penetrated within the states we are, which give us those competitive advantages that I was referring to earlier. And so although we're not against expanding geographically, we don't feel we need to in order to grow our business. And so we're really
Yeah.
happy about what we're doing.
Plymouth Rock meeting the customer where they are. That's what it is. That's what it is. Hey, appreciate
Perfect.
you very much, Mary. I really, really do. Thank you.
Thanks, Jason.
And to
Thank you
all you
very much.
loyal listeners, you know what I do because I do it for you. Tell me your thoughts and tell me your ideas, and I'm going to tell the world what you have to say. This has been Jason Cass. She's Mary Boyd, and we are out.